This segment sponsored by LTD Property Group. If you are looking to sell your home, well, you're in luck. Today I am speaking with LTD Property Group about how they help homeowners sell their home in a hassle-free way. And joining me are their owners, both Dakota Bailey and Tony Moore. Hello, gentlemen.
Hey.
Welcome.
How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. So let's start off by kind of sharing with me a bit more about LTD Property.
So we have an office actually here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. We've been buying properties for the last 5 years. And something that makes us different from traditional real estate service is that rather than making the process drawn out one where you get a realtor, you put a property under contract and you sort of expect to pay the realtor fees. Then there's an inspection, appraisals. There's a lot of things that goes into a traditional real estate transaction. We make it really simple because we are the end buyers. So a lot of times we'll put a property under contract and within about 2 weeks or so, the title work is ready. We wire over the funds and it's cash as is, and the sellers can take or leave whatever they want to from the property. There's no cleanup process, and so for a lot of folks, they like how simple it is.
Right. Okay. So that's the main difference between what your service provides and what people usually get when they are dealing with a realtor, is just the fact that there's so many steps.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, so you are providing a hassle-free way, and like you said, a more simple way. So kind of go through what that process looks like and what type of buyers in particular best could use your service.
Sure. So yeah, that's definitely, so there's two questions there. The first one is going to be, the typical process is going to be, we send somebody out there, go take a look at the property, and then at the end of that, they're going to walk through, they're going to give you an amount that we're able to offer for the property. So at that point, again, it's cash, it's as is, and then there's no inspection. So it's not like we're going to send other people back there and say, hey, we have an inspector, we need you to fix these items, or we need you to clean this out or anything. And then also it's more of a guarantee, whereas if you go to list it on the market, you're not necessarily going to get the price that you list it for. You're going to get offers, and then you have to decide if you're going to accept that or not. Whereas when we give an offer, now it's a set amount and you know how much you're getting. And so people are usually able to figure out their next steps based on the amount of money that they're getting, because there's not a whole lot of unknowns that are going to happen in the future.
Right.
Yeah, and so like an example of that would be, there was one woman who was starting to have heart problems, and she'd been to the doctor a lot recently. Well, they were an older couple, and she had a basement and she had an upstairs. And so she couldn't make it down to the basement anymore, and some of the mechanicals were downstairs. She couldn't make it upstairs anymore, and she still had some of her stuff up there. And so we basically explained to her that, like, hey, we can take it from here, and there's not going to be a process of you getting all of your stuff, packing it in boxes and that sort of thing. It's not going to be a big involved process of clearing out the house, getting professional photos taken, all that sort of thing. We're going to take a look at it. We're going to give you an offer, and as long as it makes sense for you and your husband, you can move on to, I think she was headed to the nursing home at that point.
Yeah, both of them were going. Yeah, because she actually had a doctor's note that said that she could not go upstairs anymore. Otherwise, like, she was basically going to have a heart attack, and so they had to move out of that property.
And then that step, so you're saying that you all provide just an extra service on top of the normal home buying. You actually just make it a really smooth process for whatever they have to do next.
Yeah, that's just one of the buyers. There's a ton of different people in different scenarios who usually sell us their properties. Another one was it was a big CEO of a company, and then he had some tenants that basically just destroyed his property. And then at that point, it was taking away his time and effort, and then he could, his dollar per hour was just better utilize it, him doing his job. So he's like, I really don't want to have the headache of dealing with, fixing this up, getting it on the market. And then so he was wanting to give up equity in order for speed and convenience for him, just because it made more sense for what his timing was.
Yes. And so what type of homes do you buy? I'm sure there's a big assortment.
Yeah. What's funny, I always tell people, about like the cheapest house that we've bought and the most expensive house that we've bought. So the largest property we've ever bought is a 12,000 square foot mansion.
Oh, wow.
The smallest property we've ever bought is probably like 600 square feet or so. And we started off buying properties in lower income parts of town, and we've moved to parts of town where, you know, the country clubs and everything are at, and people are, you know, have a 6 or 7 bedroom property. So we bought everything from properties that were condemned to properties that were perfectly fine. And the people who inherited those houses were just like, my brother really wants this on land contract, and I don't want to have to deal with him. I don't want to let him know that I'm selling the house, and I want it gone. Can you guys buy this property so that I don't have to confront my family members?
Yeah, we'll also buy properties that already have tenants in them.
Okay.
So a lot of times people think that, oh, I have to move my tenant out before I'm able to sell my property, because usually, you know, when you're going to list it on the market, people want to live in the home, whereas us as investors, you know, we'll buy them with a tenant in there. It doesn't make a big difference for us. So we'll buy them with a tenant, and then also we'll buy somewhere about an hour radius of Fort Wayne. We really don't like to go out of state, so that's usually the general area that we'll buy, but we'll buy basically almost any house. So
that's interesting. I want to back up for a second, because you say you will buy it with the tenant. So do you take over their lease? You take over the responsibility of managing that property and those who live in it?
Yep, exactly.
Oh, wow. That's unique.
We have over 60 units here in Fort Wayne. So we also do rental properties. Most of our rental properties are managed by AG Rentals. They're a local management company here. A few of them we've Airbnb'd out. So we have a lot of different options. You know, if somebody has a nicer lake house and they're like, you know, I don't know if this makes sense for an investor. Well, it might make sense for us, because there are always folks who want to go out to the lake for 3 days on a weekend, and they're willing to spend a few $100s in order to do so. It might make sense for us as an Airbnb. We may be able to spend a little bit more money on that house than they probably think.
Yeah, and something that's so popular right now is the skill of flipping homes, right? And just really using it for different reasons, whether it be to resell it or to Airbnb it and rent it out. And so I'm so curious, so you all do that process yourself, but do you also help other people get started in that process when you come across home buyers?
Well, it's funny that you actually mentioned that. So we also run the Fort Wayne Real Estate Investors Association. So that's really where we teach other people how to do it. So it's a free event that anybody who's interested in becoming an investor, or if you're already investing, then we teach you basically different ways of how we do it.
Yeah.
And we just like take all of the local people who are doing investing, and then we see what they're doing well, and then maybe some tips or advice that they can give. And so it's really creating a community of people who are interested in making Fort Wayne a better place.
Yeah.
And we host that the first Friday of every month. And I believe it's at 6 o'clock? 7 o'clock.
Okay.
So 7 o'clock, first Friday of every month. And it's a different location every time. We're working on getting a space that we're going to stay every single time. But as of right now, it's different every single time. But
that's awesome.
And that philosophy was sort of born out of, Dakota had a mentor that he went to, asked him if he would help him flip houses, and he sort of had the old value, the win-lose values, you know, the you're my competition kind of values. I would never teach you. And so the opposite of that were some of these guys who we started learning from at our own Fort Wayne Real Estate Investors Association meetings back in the day. So we didn't start off without help. We got started, and then we found some folks who have already done this in Fort Wayne, guys like Colin Young, guys like Jay Redding, who were willing to give back to the community and show other people how to win too. They were genuinely interested in helping others, and so we want to be those win-win values for our local community and folks who are genuinely interested in getting started.
That information is so great and so vital right now. And if people want more information about what you all do and to get in contact with you, how should they do so?
We have a QR code that's going to pop up on the screen, and that'll actually take you to our house buying website. So if you're in a position where you're like, hey, I'd really just like to know, you know, what a cash buying company would pay for my property, maybe put in a little bit about your situation, and we'll have somebody reach out to you with a cash offer. We'll come take a look at the property and at least give you some advice, at least tell you what we would do if we were in your position.
Yes, that's awesome. Okay, gentlemen, thank you so much for stopping by and sharing all about your business. I enjoyed learning about it. And if you would like more information about LTD Property Group, we'll have their website listed below and, of course, that QR code. We'll be right back. This segment sponsored by LTD Property Group.